Not content with tearing down statues and rewriting history, the cancel culture cretins are now targeting one of the nation's and my favourite children's book. The Very Hungry Caterpillar, I'm sure you remember it, there it is, has been branded detrimental and not inclusive by a senior childhood researcher who says it, quote, perpetuates outdated stereotypes. So this is Dr. Helen Adams from Edith Cowan University School of Education. She said it was among a number of classic books featuring a, quote, lack of representation of boys and girls in non-traditional gender roles. That's a whole load of word salad our very hungry caterpillar would happily devour. And Widdecombe. I mean, come on. I thought I'd heard it all. But they're trying to cancel the hungry caterpillar. Why?
I can't believe this is going to get any traction. This is a single lunatic, I think, talking in these terms. I mean, you talk about, non-gender stereotypes. I mean, for goodness sake, it's a caterpillar. It's a caterpillar and it eats things and then it becomes a butterfly. Do we really have to sort of try and socially manipulate it so that it gets over the messages that this particular researcher thinks should be got over? This was written in 1969. I mean, 1969. It's a bit like saying that Rupert Bear's parents should be, differently dressed and more up to date, and that Mrs. Bear should go out to work. I mean, it is just a nonsense. And what is more, it's denying children the knowledge of how things were. Yeah. That is what really bothers me about all of this. We evolve as human beings, as a race.
And cultures
we evolve as human beings. And that means that we have a background and a history. And children won't understand that things change and that things were different in their parents' time and their grandparents' time if everything has to be given a modern, politically correct slant. They won't understand it.
No. And look, you say this is one lunatic, and I definitely agree that she is a lunatic. But unfortunately, Anne, these people are gaining a huge amount of traction, especially in education circles. I mean, look at the attempts, and they're very serious attempts, to cancel Enid Blyton books as well.
Jackie Wilson, I think it is actually rewriting some of Enid Blyton's work. I dearly wish that there was a way of preventing that happening. And yes, I mean, in Enid Blyton, there are characters that we wouldn't put into children's fiction today. But again, it's understanding the past. And I don't think you can do that unless the past is around you.
No, you absolutely can't. I guess the other question is too, Anne, and this is a genuine question that I'm putting to you, but does every piece of children's literature today have to include kids in non-conformist gender roles? I mean, to me, I don't really understand that, even about new books.
I can't see the point of that at all. It's like when I was writing my novels, not every single, that's not quite true, but so many commentators said, oh, but, there's no explicit sex. And I said, no, there isn't. Why should there be? Where is it in Jane Austen? Where is it in Charles Dickens? Why, just because it's being written now, does it have to take on a different hue? So I just feel very strongly that writing is creative.
Yes.
And The Hungry Caterpillar is a brilliantly creative. I mean, are we soon going to find that the tiger who came to tea has to be abolished because, Daddy came in from work and Mummy was there getting the tea?
Well, yes.
Where does it stop?
Yes, I mean, that is what they will say. And I think when it comes to new literature as well, it's a completely correct point to say this is about creativity. And I am very clear that diversity cannot be prescribed. If it comes naturally to a writer or a TV producer, fine. But actually, what these writers are now feeling is that unless I include, a lesbian set of parents and a mixed-race couple and a trans teenager, unless I include all of those things, I'm not going to be commissioned. And I think that's a real concern. And publishing companies need to fight back against it. But the problem is these publishing companies are increasingly being overrun by 20-something wokesters in London.
Well, we had exactly that problem with J.K. Rowling, of course, when, unbelievably, considering the huge commercial success and her work was paying for their jobs, Unbelievably, they wanted to cancel her because she had made comments that they misinterpreted, I still believe, and accused her of transphobia. And it's quite true that there is almost a totalitarian attitude in the arts towards what you can write, what you can paint. It's all the music that you play. Oddly enough, it doesn't appear to apply to rap, which can have extremely violent lyrics. Yes. And nobody bats an eyelid.
Yeah, very true, very true. And finally, you're obviously in your red, white and blue regalia
Absolutely.
today. It has been...
God bless Her Majesty.
Yeah, it's been quite a spectacular 24 hours. You would have heard the breaking news, I imagine, over the past couple of hours that the Queen will not be attending this Thanksgiving service at St Paul's Cathedral tomorrow. Are you worried about that, or do you just think it's a sensible move to preserve her over these 4 days? I mean, she's done 3 public appearances already today.
She is 96, Dan. She is 96. And I think we tend to forget that. We see the role, we see the monarch. But the person is 96. And those of us who've had parents, grandparents who've lived to that sort of age know that, you're not going to be as physically resilient as you used to be. I mean, bless us all, she still does government boxes. She still does red boxes. I was glad to give them up at 50. She's doing them at 96.
It makes you proud to be British today, though, doesn't it?
It does. I'm very proud to be British and very proud to have a monarchy.
Indeed. Anne Widdecombe, thank you
Thank you
so much. Great to have you in the studio.